Got it.
Yeah. Oh, yep.
Okay, beautiful. So welcome everybody. Um, and as we get started, um, if you don't have something, just inviting everyone to get something to write on and to write with. Sometimes people like to have a candle lit in their space, and that's reminding me that I wanted to have one.
Mm-hmm. Got my candle.
So let me just get this going here. Just to kind of help us hone and harness that energy. Good evening. So good to see everybody. And, I know everybody's in different places and spaces, but if you are comfortable with it and if it is available to you, I am going to ask, if you can have your video on. It's just awesome to be able to see everybody and really, just kind of hones in this connection, right? So good evening. It's Thursday. It's so good to see you all here. We are recording. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but just you probably see that when you came in. So there are going to be some different opportunities to share, and I just like to mention that so everybody is aware that when you're sharing, just sort of share at your own discretion because we might use and kind of resource some different pieces from this for other things, right? So we have like a library with active exchange, and sometimes it goes on there. So, all right. So tonight we're here, and the topic is connecting to what matters this holiday season. So welcome everybody. My name, for those of you who don't know me, is Becca Marshall. I am an integrative psychotherapist and wellness coach and the founder of Active Exchange. Tonight, I'm super excited to be collaborating for this event, not only with each and every one of you, but also with Shannon. Shannon Minton is my dear friend and colleague. Shannon, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, Becca, and so good to see everyone. Hello.
Yeah, absolutely. So Shannon is a holistic life coach. She is the founder of North Star Coaching, which we might share a little personal story about some point tonight. And Shannon is dedicated to helping individuals, and she specifically works a lot with women on overcoming different habits and behavior patterns specific to alcohol use and relationship with food, and really works from her own experience. She is a wife and a mother of two incredible children, a little dog, Nash, who I think you might be seeing later. And yeah, it's incredible to share the passion and the dedication to helping people and supporting their learning and growth with you, Shannon. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited. So excited.
And before I shift into the next screen, I'm seeing here nurture the next. So thank you, those of you who chose to give a donation. We are donating the proceeds for this evening to Nurture the Next, which is a foundation in Tennessee. And Shannon, I just want to invite you to share a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. Nurture the Next is very special to me. One of my very, very good friends, Melanie Scott, she used to work with me at Stars Nashville. I'm a puppeteer. I've been doing puppetry programs for children for 20 years before I transitioned to life coaching, but I'm still puppeteering here and there. So, so I've known Melanie for about 20 years, and she started working for this wonderful organization, and they do so much. It's based here in Tennessee, and there's almost 100 employees, but they really, their mission is to help families stay together, pretty much. The organization used to be called Prevent Child Abuse Tennessee. So really, they just try to help struggling families, especially new moms, find resources, they have parenting programs like parenting classes. They have in-home support for parents and families, which they have found that when they have their people go in and do those in-home visits, that child abuse doesn't happen. And I think they do weekly visits. And yeah, it's amazing. Like just having those people checking in with them, and, you know, coming in their home to see them and see what's going on and everything. It's super powerful. They have volunteer, like people can volunteer and be a mentor to new moms from birth until the child is 3 years old. And it's all through text. It's one of their newer programs, which I'm going to volunteer to be a mentor, because it's such a it's a hard it's a hard transition for a lot of people, especially when they don't have a lot of support, you know. But they also do awesome programs for community, just anyone in the community too, about like with child abuse prevention and advocacy. And they also run a parent helpline and a domestic violence hotline, and they just do so much. It's a wonderful organization. So I feel so blessed to be able to have some of the, you know, donations go to them. So thank you for whoever donated.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing about them. And if anybody has questions or you want more information, feel free to reach out. Thank you, Shannon, for sharing
Mm-hmm.
that.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm just seeing for those of you who put your name and information about where you're tuning in from, thank you. If you haven't done so already, feel free to put that in the chat. Just kind of helps harness and anchor in everybody's energy. Hello, Carly, tuning in from Arizona. And obviously, we've got Shannon from Nashville. I'm currently in Greensboro, North Carolina at the moment. Norm coming in from Wyoming. Amazing. We've got Kate in Virginia and Beth. Welcome. Tuning in from Raleigh, North Carolina. So awesome. Awesome to have everybody here. Fabulous. Okay. So we're going to just jump in. My intentions is to create a safe environment for us here this evening. And we're going to invite some shares, as I mentioned. It might be through the chat. We may open up and ask you to unmute and share a little bit throughout the evening. So if you feel comfortable with that also. And basically just a moment with our outline. So we're going to be inviting an embodied discussion. I'm going to share some stuff with you. I'm going to offer some experiential practice around connecting with the self. And then Shannon is going to share what we're calling human threads, right? Some of her story and connecting to this path of how do we connect with what matters. And she's going to share an awesome experiential practice with us called Tea Time. So you should be also walking away with resources. This is part of our intention this evening. And then we're going to come together and tune into the energies. I'm going to offer a little energy medicine activation, and we'll turn it over for questions and reflections. So get ready. And as we do, I'm going to invite all of us just to take a moment to arrive. We're here, we've turned on our computers, we've clicked into the Zoom, and we're set up in any ways that we are. And if you feel comfortable, I'm going to invite you to just close your eyes for a few moments. And if it feels good to you, there's no right or wrong, but I'm going to invite you to take your hands and maybe bring them over the heart. Sometimes it feels good to have a hand over the heart, hand over the abdomen. And if lowering the gaze or even having open eyes feels better to you, that's totally welcome and fine. It's all about your comfort level and feeling into what you need. And so together, let's just invite a full in-breath, breathing in, opening through the lungs and the chest, and gently releasing this breath through a smooth, gentle exhale, feeling into the groundedness of your body. Do this a couple times, full breath in. Smooth exhale. And on this next breath, breathing in, opening and receiving, inviting all of the energies of this day from the moment of waking up through until now to be here. And with each exhale, inviting the whole body mind to arrive a little bit more. Feeling into the groundedness of self, noticing where your buttocks is in the chair, your feet on the ground or curled in your lap, perhaps. Just noticing this body in this room, taking this time to connect with what matters. Inviting another full breath and perhaps inviting the eyes to open. So if you take a look behind the words in this screen here at this little guy, plugging along in the snow, what do you notice about what he's wearing? Right? It's snowing out, there's snow on the ground. He's toting a sled. He's got a hat, he's got gloves, he's got a jacket, all of these things. And I won't speak for all of us, but I think that I know for myself and for Shannon, we've had experiences like this. We get all equipped, right? All set up for what we're heading into. And we do our best to set ourselves up for the outcome that we want. And then we go out there just like this little guy. I imagine, and in my imagination, that he's heading to that hill and he's heading and he wants, the perfect sledding experience as he's rolling down. And what happens, right? It's like sometimes we land it. Sometimes we set ourselves up, we get that toboggan or that sled on top of the hill and we just glide down and it's the perfect thing. Other times somebody might cross our path and we have to move a little bit, or other times we might lose our balance or not realize that there was a branch there and it falls over or we fall off. Sometimes it doesn't exactly go as just like we wanted, right? Just as we planned. So even when we have the best of intentions, it's like, how do we increase our odds of connecting to what matters? How do we do what is sort of done here and gain the equipment and do our best to show up and even prepare for some of those, people potentially crossing our paths or some of those unexpected things? This is a big piece of what we're here talking about, right? How do we connect to what matters and connect to what matters in our lives to us? And right, it's about this holiday season, but it's also beyond. And excuse me, right? So it's like, this is what we're here to do together tonight. We're here to shift our odds and as we prepare for the outcomes, right? And sometimes the things outside of us change. Sometimes that even shifts the weather that's inside. But how do we hold true to that intention? So tonight, Shannon and I, we're going to share with you practices and processes that come from our professional backgrounds, but even more so from our personal lived experience. And it's our hope that even just one aspect will land as we cover what's here this evening. Okay. Sorry, my mouse froze there for a moment. And even though this is something that I want to touch in on, right? Even though we're talking about the holiday season, that piece of like and beyond also matters, because for each of us it might be different. It might not be that it's around what's coming up this holiday season. It might be what's coming up tomorrow evening, or what we've been facing on the weekends, or what's happening on our Mondays, right? So it's like this can spread, and the practices and the things that we'll be talking about can spread to any other times in our life. So I invite you all to consider that as we shift here into this next piece around setting intentions. So I'm going to invite everybody again to take a full breath and exhaling down, feeling into the body, grounding into the self. And just take a moment and consider where in your life, when you think about connecting to what matters, where would you like to apply your focus this evening? Is it a family holiday event? Is it a work party? Is it some other event or environment outside of the self? Or perhaps there's something, connecting to something that matters that's been going on more in the internal environment, your own thoughts, feelings, behaviors. So just take that moment, and if you want, jot that down. Right. You may have more than one. I know I do, right? Where connecting to what matters is important to me in many facets. I would say all facets of my life. But for the purposes of this evening, select one. Of course, you can change it if you want as we're moving through. This is your workshop. This is your experience. But know that what we go through, you can apply to those other things. All right. And once you've had that selected, let's move into the next piece, which is identifying what you'd like to experience. Right. So I'm going to use and just kind of give a little example, and feel free to tune me out and do your own piece if you want, right? But like this weekend, I'm going to be gathering with some family, and it's actually my brother-in-law's birthday. And, I want to connect to what matters during this event, during this gathering. And what I'd like to experience is I'd like to experience fun and play and good conversations, and really feeling like I'm in the moment with these people that I love. That's what I'd like to experience. I'd like it to feel playful. I'd like it to be engaged. I personally would like to feel connected. So what is it for you? And people who work with me know that oftentimes clients of mine, we talk about rhetorical questions, right? It's just this way that we can sort of call up a question and hold it. We don't necessarily have to, strive for the answer, or, really go digging for it, but it's just holding it so that the answers and the possibilities sort of percolate. So when we're setting intentions around connecting to what matters, here's a bit of a rhetorical question, or something to just check in, holding loosely, right? So does the desire, right? You identified where in your life you'd like to focus on connecting to what matters and what you'd like to experience. Does this require someone outside of you to change? If so, that's totally fine. It gives us a direction, but we might want to, if you find that the answer to that is yes, right? If it's like, okay, I want to connect, and therefore I need somebody else this weekend to change the way they show up for me to experience the outcome that I want. Well, then there's a little bit of a challenge, because I am not in the driver's seat. It is not within my control how they show up. And so, in a way, I'm kind of setting myself up for failure, right? Potentially. A lot more so than if I could rework it or reword that desire so that it's oriented around me. So, just considering that and reworking anything if necessary. And cultivating the container. So we've identified where in our life and what we want it to feel like. Let's think about now how we're approaching or how are we holding this desire, right? We want to connect to what matters. Maybe it's for the upcoming Christmas party. Maybe it's for the birthday experience this weekend. What is my perspective of this? What are your perspectives of it if you think about it? And this might be a little bit, I'm not sure how big this shows up, but I want to just hone in here on these glasses for a moment, right? Because our perspective has to do with how we're viewing the situation and how we're viewing our desire in it, right? So if I want to connect to what matters during this birthday weekend or during the upcoming holiday celebrations that I'm going to be a part of, am I viewing this as a problem, right? Something that time and time and time again, I want it to be a certain way and it's not. Am I viewing it as an experience? This is something that I get to observe, something that's occurring in my life. I'm showing up to this holiday party. Is it an opportunity? And these are just some of the ways, in case you can't see the scale, there you'll notice that gradient, right? So we can put on the glasses and they can sort of, determine our entire view around not only what we're experiencing, like at the upcoming event, right? During it in real time, but also in preparation. And so there's sort of two ways to consider this lens. And I'm just going to share with you. So it goes from doom, right? Which is sort of like there are no solutions, there is no hope, that kind of thing. Been dealing with this my whole life. This person that I love and I've wanted to connect with my whole life, and I always feel like they don't see me or this or that, and that's it. There's no chance, right? That would be sort of a doom. So it says doom, problem, which oftentimes we can identify by feeling like we need to fix something, like this has to be fixed. It's a challenge, right? And if something is a challenge, oftentimes it's like, okay, this is tough, but I can do it. Right? Is it an experience? Often we're holding experience and it feels a bit more neutral, or we might be observing. Is it an opportunity? Right? Maybe an opportunity for growth, for change, or is it a gift? Gift is the last one on there, right? So how are we viewing this life circumstance, happening, or event? And then considering and, jotting these things down for yourself, considering the specific piece that you're focusing in on tonight. How has it felt? How does it feel right now as you think about it? Or how has it felt? Right? If it is the family Christmas party or the family holiday party, right? We all celebrate a variety of different things this time of year. How has it felt in the past? Right? Or how does it feel thinking about it now? And how do we want it to feel? And I'm saying feel here very specifically. So just a few moments ago, it was what do we want to experience? But as you consider the feeling, I invite you to consider the texture. Perhaps it's felt hard and you want it to feel soft. Perhaps it's felt, immovable or like solid, and you want it to feel malleable. Perhaps it's felt grainy or gritty, and it would be amazing if it feels soft or smooth. Just considering those textures and maybe taking a breath. Because as we consider textures and how we want it to feel, those feelings happen in our bodies. And thinking directly about those intentions. So everybody has been invited to identify, that place, where, what you want it to be like, how it has been, how it's been feeling, how you want it to feel, and considering the perspective. And so this could be, right, the perspective that you're approaching it with or you have in the past, but also it could identify the one that you want to bring in. I want to take something that's felt like a problem and I want to practice moving toward feeling like it's an opportunity. And so, with that, taking a moment and considering your why. Why does this matter? Why does connecting to this matter to you? So just taking a breath with that, maybe the answer comes readily and you can write that down. Okay. And um, so I just want to take a moment, and if anybody wants to actually go ahead and share, or if you want to share in the chat, if you feel comfortable with that, where you're focusing in on. And you can, put as much or as little, but I just want to take a moment and kind of see what's here, see what people are thinking about, and give that opportunity.
I'll speak. I think particularly about two old friends who rather suddenly are essentially fatally ill, and neither's within reach easily. I could ride once in assisted living, but he went blind in less than a year, and he moved out of our community because it's hard for him to live alone. But now he's in assisted living, and I think it's even harder in truth. And the other one had to go to another city for medical treatment and stay with his kids so they could take care of him. There's both of them that are old friends. I've known them since I came to North Carolina, like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is very much like a brother to me. But they're on my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's an inevitability to their dying. It, essentially, both are in hospice. I can't change. But it is a question of how to support them remaining in grace while they're in the process of passing over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where I am at the moment.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So identifying these people that have been long time friends of yours, and considering what's going on in their lives and the way you want to show up. You shared you want to show up with grace. You want to feel that grace as they move through this process. Thank you, Kitsuo, for sharing. I appreciate that. Yeah. And so if anybody else wants to share, feel free to put that in the chat, and we can come back to that as well. So I'm sure we've all got lots of different things on our minds with that. And as we consider this, right? How we want to show up, the container we want to hold it with, right? What is the perspective we're viewing this desire, this want for connecting to what matters? And I love this little blurb from Young Pueblo. You cannot build a deep connection with someone who is disconnected from themselves, right? And we could easily take this and we could talk about, or maybe even think about some people that we might come into contact with that we would really love a deeper connection with, and immediately say like, well, there you go. She's got the quote. They're not connected with themselves. So rule that one out. That goes into the doom category, you know. But really, this is here. My intention in putting it in is one, maybe so that we could catch some thoughts like that, myself included, right? And also so that we can take that in the way that the world and the people that we come into contact with is a mirror, and that we can take this and shine this mirror back to ourselves and say, okay, so if we can't deeply connect with someone who isn't connected with themselves, this becomes my practice. How do I root in connection? Connecting with myself so that I can cultivate and begin to foster right here, not looking for someone else to change, not pointing that finger out there, but saying, okay, how do I maybe cultivate grace? And knowing I want grace. And so I've got to connect with myself so that when I go to visit them in this assisted living, or when I go to the birthday party or the family piece, so that I'm connected with myself so I can show up how I want. Right? In alignment with my intention. And, you know, I love this. This Ram Dass quote, if you think you're enlightened, go and spend a week with family. I don't know if people find that as entertaining as I do, but I've got a big family and I love them all dearly. And it is when I am with them that some of my deepest buttons get pushed, that some of the most challenging dynamics come up, that I'm like, I feel barriers to the love that I really want to express. And that is a challenge. And, you know, we got a couple of Young Pueblo quotes in here. Perhaps it's because these are current book for the book club. But I had to include this as well because this is so important. And, you know, we could do a whole workshop on this, and we're not going to tonight, but I just want to share this, right? There's this little piece here where he says, your immediate reaction does not tell who you are. It is how you decide to respond after the reaction that gives you real insight into how much you have grown. Your first reaction is your past. Your intentional response is your present. This hits home, and this ties in to that Ram Dass quote. Why is it that we get triggered around people that we love so deeply and we've known so long, or what that it's more likely? Because we have so much past, and that past can get triggered and we can slip right back in there, right? And that's the reactivity. When we connect deeply with the self, we are able to stay in our response. We are able to be in the intentional response, and we have choice. Not doing so poses a risk to our moments and to our connections. We're human. We're human. So we have these natural instinctual responses. The things that we experience fall somewhere in this range. It's pleasant, it's neutral, it's unpleasant, right? And there are natural instinctual responses. When it's unpleasant, we want to get away from it. That person that's not connecting the way that we want to, despite our best intentions, despite getting geared up with our scarf and our hat, you know, they're not showing up. We want to get away from that. How do we hold our ground and stay in alignment with our intention to be connective, to love them, to show them grace, whatever this is? When we're in the pleasant, we want to hold on. We don't want it to end, right? These are some of our natural our natural reactions that show up. And so what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to build our tolerance for staying in alignment with ourselves amidst these changing tides. So let's take a few moments. I'm going to invite you again to close your eyes, and we've identified the intention. We've identified something that we want to focus on and that we're focusing in on here tonight. And I'm going to guide us all just through a brief practice of connecting with the self. So if it feels comfortable to close the eyes or lower the gaze, what this does is it helps us to tune out the stimulation that's all around us and invites the body mind to shift and to turn towards its experience. You may want to rest your hands in your lap or find a place for them to land on the body, perhaps over the heart, over the abdomen, and inviting a full breath here, breathing in and anchoring down into the buttocks, feeling into the groundedness of the body, inviting another full breath and feeling into this sensation of the breath. Gently exhaling and scanning through your experience, becoming aware of any sensations that are here. Perhaps there's a warmth or a coolness in the body. You may notice pulsing or tingling, the flow of the breath. Becoming aware of any images in the mind's eye, or even the lack thereof, just noticing. Becoming aware of any feelings or emotions that are present right here and now. Maybe there's an emotional state of peace or ease, restlessness or worry. Everything's welcome, just observing and taking a full breath. And gently exhaling this breath, releasing, feeling into the groundedness of this body and becoming aware of what's happening in the thinking mind. Noticing if the thoughts are moving quickly or slowly, if there are many or few. And again, inviting a full breath, breathing into this body right here, right now. Exhaling into the groundedness of this moment. Everything's welcome. And so from this state of connecting with the self, whether you find that the weather inside is pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, you get to notice. You get to notice that. And that is part of our equipment. This is part of our gloves and our hat and facing a snowy day, where we become equipped when we're stepping into that opportunity to connect, to know what's happening here. So we know what we need to show up there. And I'm going to take this moment and we're going to kind of trade off here. I'm going to turn things over to you, Shannon. So I think I stopped sharing my screen and it should be open for you. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. I feel very calm. I almost forgot I was going to be presenting. Oh, yeah. But I'm ready. So
good.
That was so beautiful. I loved all of that. It gave me a lot to think about and a great place to start with my intention. So thank you. I hope everyone else had some good stuff come up. Let me see. I'll share my screen now that I got that figured out. You guys see that okay?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
Okie dokie. So here is, oh no, hold on. Okay. So we're going to shift gears just a tad and talk about how alcohol, what role it plays in the holidays, and just some things to consider, you know, during this season, with which we talked a lot about, you know, family and friends coming together. It's not always, you know, joyful, I guess. There's a lot of stress and old, you know, buttons being pushed a lot of times, and we usually tend to turn to something to help us get through that. Now, if alcohol is not your thing, it may be something else, right? It could be these things, which we're all very, I think, addicted to. It could be just anything that we kind of turn to numb out, or even to connect and celebrate. You know, we use it for lots of different ways, and this is not like about bashing alcohol or, you know, making it the bad guy and say don't drink, you're gonna, you know, it's gonna make everything worse. But it's just to kind of start thinking about why, like, why do we why does it go hand in hand with the holidays so much, especially family gatherings, at least my family. Okay, I can't figure out how to change the,
How to change your slide.
yeah. Okay, let's see here.
Does it do anything
I'll
if you
just do
hit that
this.
little, there you go.
I'll just have to keep going back and forth, I guess. I don't know.
And
Okay.
Shannon, can I just interject for like 1 second
Yes.
to say, right? I think another piece is, you know, I love what you're saying about, you know, alcohol and cell phones. And, you know, we have a lot of different, really escapism behaviors. How do we avoid or get away from that unpleasant stuff? And, you know, and this whole theme, how do we connect to what matters, right? So part of the way that we connect to what matters is by shedding or, you know, making conscious decisions, like you were saying, around the obstacles that could get in the way. So anyway,
Exactly.
I meant to
Exactly.
transition and say that. So.
Yes, being more conscious of our, you know, go-to actions kind of during these times. Okay, so just a tad about me. Becca already introduced me, but I'm Shannon. We've been friends since high school, which is awesome. And I have two daughters, Lily, who's 13, and Lacey will be 11 and next month. And like I said before, I have worked at a nonprofit for 20 years as a educational puppeteer, and I just recently got certified a few years ago with health coaching, and then just in September I got certified with This Naked Mind as a life coach. So I kind of am grouping it all together and doing holistic life coaching now. So I'm really passionate about helping really anyone, but especially women and moms with their attachments. I don't use the word addiction, but I think most people are just attached to things like alcohol or food. And I know I was. So really it didn't, and it's not about like just changing that behavior, which most of us just focus on. We'll just stop doing the thing, whatever it is, right? And then it'll be fine. But that's not really what it's about. What I found is it's the beliefs about that behavior. So once you kind of can tackle that, that's where you can find the true freedom, even if you don't stop drinking or whatever, but you just start being really mindful and kind of dissecting your beliefs around that. I'll just say alcohol for now, but you can insert whatever it is, whatever your thing is that you kind of want to change your relationship to. But so yeah, I mean, it's been a journey for me. I started drinking in high school, like a lot of people do. And I found for me, it was a bonding experience. That's how it started anyway. And with friends, and then, you know, kept it up into my 20s. And then when I started to have children, I started noticing that, I was kind of using it as an excuse. Like I like to say, motherhood was my excuse for drinking. It was like, mommy wine time or whatever, or me time, I'm going to go have some drinks with the girls or whatever. It was just kind of a way to escape for a little bit and become like my old self, being a mom and being having that new identity all of a sudden. And, I don't know, it's just kind of a way to like live my youth again, I feel like, but it was not, it really wasn't serving me. And I realized that pretty quickly. And my kids were, they've really been my biggest spiritual teachers throughout this whole journey, because they're so close to like infinite wisdom. I mean, they reflect back what's going on with us, even when we don't see it. So, yeah, just like, but there, I was just sick of being numb, dumbed, and bummed. So I was just numb to my experiences. My mental health was, I didn't even know it was that bad until I stopped drinking, but I had like major anxiety, I had bouts of depression, and it was all alcohol related, and everything else that was going on in my world. But so it's been a journey. I've been alcohol free for over a year now, and it's hard to explain. It's a freedom, like when you are so attached to something for so long, and then like I could drink now if I wanted to. It's not like I'm never going to drink again, but I've really removed the desire to drink in the first place. So it's not even an issue. And now I can like be around people who are drinking, and I don't feel tempted. I kind of feel sorry for them actually, because I've come so far, and I'm like, I don't need it. I don't want it. And my life has been so much better without it. And it was like a big domino that kind of helped everything else fall into place. And my health got better. My relationships with my children, like, improved so much. And with everyone, and then like I found that drive and that passion again to go after my dreams and become a coach. So that's just a little bit of my history with that. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so I love memes. I don't know if you guys do too, but I thought I'd find a couple funny ones here. So 'tis the season, right, for family gatherings. And I used to think drinking like memes were so funny, and now I kind of am disturbed by them because they're everywhere, but I thought these were funny. Maybe some of you can relate. Okay, so 'tis the drink season for holidays and parties with friends and coworkers, where everyone can eat, drink, and be merry, and hope for open bars. Okay, this is kind of annoying, but I don't know how else to do it. All right, so how important is alcohol in our society, our professions, social circles, and in our homes? Our beliefs about alcohol stem from so much. Our society, I mean, you can't look anywhere, watch movies, listen to music, turn on the TV or advertisements or whatever. We're just bombarded with messages that it's cool to drink. We should drink. You drink to have fun with your friends, to celebrate, or even to mourn, or out of boredom or whatever, or celebrate milestones, or now even like it's associated with things that were considered healthy, like yoga and running, and it's just penetrated throughout every aspect, I feel like, of our lives. And it's just become the norm, and we don't even like really think like, oh. And I didn't really think about it until my kids started saying stuff, like, why does everyone have to drink at every, family party we're at? Like, they just started really noticing. And that's when I started thinking, what kind of message am I sending to my kids? And like a lot of people in their professional careers, you have to go to happy hour. And I mean, I've never worked in corporate, but I've heard a lot of stories that, happy hour is where all the the deals happen and stuff. So there's a lot of pressure for a lot of people. And, you know, with holiday parties coming up, that could be an issue in our social circles, of course, and even in our homes. So there's like levels of belief, like it's our belief in the substance, what we're getting from it, which that's kind of the easiest beliefs to change, because once you kind of take it out, you can see it really was taking more than it was giving for that like 10-20 minute, you know, little buzz or whatever. It just goes downhill from there. But and then like society, I talked about all the messages that we always get, but the self, those are like that's the deepest layer of belief, like what you think that alcohol is actually doing for you. And once people start using it to cope or to numb out pain, or to mask, you know, any trauma, or pretty much self-medicate, that's when it gets really, really hard to change those habits. But they all are kind of interwoven too. So we just have to kind of think about, you know, kind of shake up the status quo and the norms a little bit. Okay. So I don't know why this thing is crooked, but sorry about that. So beliefs are just repeated thoughts that we hold as truth. And that's why they're so hard to change, because we've, you know, once you think a thought so many times, it just becomes a belief and we just see it as true. So thoughts, especially like painful ones that cause us, you know, stress or anxiety, those stem from beliefs that we have. And emotions are tied to our thoughts and beliefs. So we act based on how we feel, our emotions, and how we want to feel. So it's, you know, we often don't think about that. Like when we're talking about triggers, maybe, you know, people in our family or coworkers or whatever can trigger us. We don't even sometimes know where it came from. Like, oh, why did I just get so mad at that comment? You know, it all stems from a belief. And it's really hard because we're not taught to challenge our beliefs, especially when they've been passed down to us through our family or culture. So that's what I will show you guys in a minute, how to kind of start challenging your belief. So yeah, when was the last time you challenged your own thoughts or beliefs? It's not easy. It's very difficult. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with Byron Katie, but she's written some books. The one I read was A Mind at Home with Itself. And I think her first book was Loving What Is, but she calls it The Work. And it's for good reason, because it is work. It's very challenging. But if you guys go to thework.com, you can see it's all free resources. It's really, really interesting stuff. Super helpful, but there's 4 questions. You'll have to check it out. But my tea time that I'll be sharing with you is based loosely from the work and some other things I've learned along the way. Okay. So who is in the driver's seat? What belief are you holding that's keeping you stuck in those same unhealthy patterns or toxic interactions? You know, we all have at least one belief. I mean, we have many, but, you know, is it really their fault? You know, a lot of times we blame other people or situations on how these things go, like how we interact, but really it's not anyone outside of us. Like Becca was kind of talking about earlier, it's all us. It's all in our minds. Whatever we're experiencing, it all happens within our minds, and mostly subconscious too. And that's why it's so hard. Like, you know, our consciousness is just the tip of the iceberg, and our subconscious is what's below. And do we ever go down there digging and seeing what's down? You know, not really. So that's the challenge, and that's the work that we need to do to uncover those hidden beliefs that are keeping us stuck. Okay, so I love learning about the brain. So the brain is pretty simple. its main function, or there's like kind of 4 main functions. It is to avoid pain and seek pleasure, conserve energy, and it loves to prove itself right. So we should give our brains a little love because their function is to keep us alive, right? So they're not always efficient. I mean, they're efficient, they're very efficient, but they're not always accurate. But we do have the power to change it. And I don't know if any of you are into neuroplasticity like I am, but it's we have the power to change our minds. Okay, and I will show you a little tool that will kind of help you see how that works. Let's see here. Oh, wait. Okay. Yeah. All right. So just to kind of think about the brain and our thoughts, like thoughts are actually things and they're chemical reactions in our brains. And our thoughts are like neural pathways. The beliefs are like very well-traveled paths. Because those are, like I said earlier, thoughts that have been thought many, many, many times, right? Like probably since we were children. And I think I've heard that around 80% of our thoughts are recycled thoughts. So thoughts that we've thought the day before, the week before, probably months and years before. So they're forming those really deep grooves. But if we start to think about our thoughts and challenge them, then we can form new neural pathways and new thoughts and healthier thoughts that make, give us those happy feelings, and let the old ones that don't serve us just grow over and eventually disappear. It takes work. It doesn't happen overnight. I had some beliefs that I had to really work on for a long time, for years, but it was well worth it because that's how I found freedom. Okay, so this is my tea time exercise. So this is loosely based on the work, and also This Naked Mind has a tool that's called ACT, which is awareness, clarity, and turnaround. But I thought this was a fun little way to remember. Okay, so T time stands for thought, emotion, and action, and turn around, investigate, manifest, and experiment. Let me get this. Okay. So I'll show you my example real quick that I thought of. Many people have. Oh, and when you do this, you have to remember that curiosity is your friend. Okay, so a lot of times we want to judge our own thoughts, but try not to judge them. Just try to go with it. Just be curious about your thoughts, and don't expect like a miracle to happen overnight, like to all of a sudden be free of that thought or belief. But I heard someone say this the other day: expectations are planned disappointments. I thought that was really funny, because often our expectations, don't pan out the way we wanted them to. So, but I think if we look at things with just like openness and curiosity and come from like, who knows, who knows what might happen. Let's see. So I know I'm gonna leave this some time, but I'll go through this real quick. So T, thought. So this is really bringing awareness of what you're thinking. I don't think we think about our thoughts very much. So, like one I had here was, I need wine to connect to, you can fill in the blank. I don't know if anyone has ever had this thought before, but let's just say grandma, I'll say. So I have a thought that comes into my head, like maybe I'm about to go to my family Christmas party and, oh, I need to have my wine so I can, talk to grandma for an hour so we can connect, because that's what we do, we, share a bottle of wine. Okay, so there's the awareness of the thought, and then the emotion. So what emotion comes up for you? And these thoughts you don't need to do these for thoughts that are not causing you pain. So let's say this thought, like, I feel like every time I have to, talk to grandma, I have to have a buzz. So it's causing me some pain. Okay. So I want to know like what emotion comes up when I'm thinking that thought. I feel like disconnected and genuine. Like, why do I have to kind of fake it, right? Or kind of numb out or get that buzz to be able to talk to this person. And so like, so then you have to think about your action or behavior. How do you behave when you think that way or feel that way? Well, I would avoid that person unless I have my wine, right? Because I don't want to have to deal with them unless I, can numb out or whatever it is. So think about the action that goes along with it. And this takes, this is a process. It's not always easy, but the more you kind of just sit with it and let it come and not judge yourself. That's really, really important, to not judge whatever comes up. Just let it flow and see what happens. Okay, so the turnaround is the next T. So this one can be tricky. You can try the opposite of what your initial thought was. So this would be, I don't need wine to connect to grandma. If that doesn't feel like true, or if your conscious brain just won't accept that, then you can kind of just step up a ladder, call it like ladder thoughts. Like, what would be, because we want to get to a thought that makes us feel okay, that makes us feel better. So like, if that one didn't make me feel that great, then I might think, okay, I need wine to connect to grandma. Maybe I'm learning other ways to connect to grandma or something. Or, maybe I only need one glass of wine to sit down with grandma, whatever, just something that kind of makes you feel a little bit better. But I went with, I don't need wine to connect, and let's see what happens there. Okay, so there we go. Okay, investigate. Is it true? Now you have to say, okay, is that turnaround thought? Is it true? Because like I said, you want it to be just as true or even more true than your initial thought. Okay. It can't be like total, unbelievable to you. So, yes, I'm saying yes. Why is it? How do you know it's true? Well, I've connected with grandma before when we haven't been drinking. Let me think, maybe we went shopping together, Black Friday deals, shopping, and we had some laughs and talked about stuff. Maybe, we talk on the phone every once in a while. We're not drinking then. We could have coffee. We have coffee in the morning sometimes when I'm staying over at her house, and that's a good time to talk. So yeah, it's true. I don't need wine to connect to her. Okay, and then M for manifest. So what do you want to manifest with this new thought? So this kind of goes back to the intention. Like, what's your intention here? What do you want? What feelings do you want to manifest? Really, because it's all, anything that we do is we're doing it because we want to feel a certain way. So I will manifest genuine connection. So that's your hope. And then the last E is experiment. So how are you going to go about doing this? So, okay, make a coffee date with grandma, and I'll try to connect to her that way. So this is all really experimenting, but you could do this really with anything. Like, once you to get certified, I had to come up with 15. I had to do this 15 times, and it was really hard. Because it starts to kind of open up things for you that you didn't really think about before. And like I said, thoughts, they stem from beliefs. I'm not talking about like just a random thought that pops into your head, like, oh, I need to remember to buy toilet paper at the store, but like thoughts that you continuously think that cause you stress or anxiety or worry or shame or guilt, those kinds of thoughts, like, and see where they're stemming from. And this is just a great way to do that, and to write it out. So let's see. So now, I don't know if any of you have been kind of thinking about a thought that you have had, or maybe that's popping up for you now as we talk about our intentions and what matters for the holidays. But if anyone has a thought that you want to share, you can put it in the chat or unmute yourself. It could be anything. That's kind of a vulnerable thing to to share, so you don't have to. But I would suggest, though, if you can take a minute or two right now to write down some thoughts, if you have your paper and pen handy. It can be about anything. It could be about something that you're dreading coming up. Maybe it can be related to an insecurity, something you're worried about. And it's funny because, I've done a lot of work with other people around this type of exercise, and it's amazing, like what the thoughts that we have and how we all really share the same thoughts. Like when you boil it down, they stem from beliefs oftentimes of like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not smart enough. Those like core beliefs that we hold that just really are not true at all. But a lot of our painful thoughts come from those kind of beliefs. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault that we have these thoughts or beliefs. I mean, we were conditioned by well-meaning people, and in society and everything. It's like we just kind of have to deprogram this stuff. And you can do it. Like, you really can. It takes work, but I would really encourage you all to journal about this. I will have a sheet with this tea time on there that I think we'll email you following this. But it works like magic. Once you can turn around these thoughts, and it takes practice too. So don't just like have a turnaround thought and then forget about it, but kind of, if you could do like one a day, that would be amazing. But even if you can do one a week, have a turnaround and just try it on, see how it feels. When the old thought pops back up, remember, oh yeah, wait, what was that new thought? Even use it as like a affirmation. It is so powerful. It works. And it just kind of like just cracks that old belief up just enough where you're like, okay, I don't have to believe that anymore. And everything we do is based on our beliefs. So tips. So these are just some practical tips to help you get through the holidays. Not just survive them, but really thrive. Sorry, just looking at the chats real quick. I forgot to check that. Yeah, dealing with my in-laws staying at my house. That's yeah, that can be challenging. Oh, thank you. I love sharing stories. Yeah, I'm just saying with those comments for a minute. It's awesome. Okay, so continue self-care practices throughout the holidays. Don't forget to take care of yourself. We get so wrapped up in all the doings and the happenings. But if you have a therapist or counselor or coach, maybe definitely keep your appointments with them, or schedule an extra one if you can. Get whatever support you need. Even if you have really like supportive friends or family or mentors or whatever, just, reach out to people and make those connections. Write your intentions, desires for each event that you're going to. I think holding those kind of close in the front of our consciousness will help us navigate with keeping that intention and not relying on outside circumstances or people to behave a certain way. We can kind of know we're okay no matter what other people are doing. So how can you show up as your most authentic, present, and loving self? So when it goes back to talking about alcohol again, reflecting back, I was not authentic or present when I was showing up drinking. And I can say that now, it's taken me a while to realize that, and it wasn't like I was, sloppy drunk stumbling all over the place. It was even just after a couple glasses of wine. And now that I haven't drank in so long, I can see it in other people too. Even after one or two drinks, there's just kind of this glaze that comes over. It's really interesting. So I would really, like, if you do, I would experiment. If you do drink at most functions that you go to, maybe like one of them pick, or even just like for the first hour or two, not drink and just have, you know, a mocktail or something. But it's just so interesting to see what happens when people, you know, get a little loose and start drinking, and how people don't really listen. There's really, I used to think it was a great way to connect and bond, but people are not listening. They're just really more focused on the drink in their hand, or what's going on in their head, or what they want to say. It just doesn't offer that true connection that I was looking for. And I wasn't being authentic. I was hiding behind that, trying to be someone who I thought other people wanted me to be. So, and like Becca shared earlier, loving, like, being connected to yourself is the only way that we really can be connected to other people. And for me, I've found that, like, dealing with my attachments in my relationship to alcohol and food, I just wasn't in alignment. I was definitely not in alignment with my, you know, my spirit and my values and who I wanted to be. So whatever that is for you, I would, you know, just listen to that little voice in your head that's letting you know, like, hey, something's off here. And don't judge yourself. There's no need to judge. Like, when we put shame and blame on ourselves, that just makes everything worse. So just coming from a place of total self-compassion and, like I said, curiosity and openness is, I think, the best way to kind of start changing those beliefs, because it really is all about the beliefs. That's where it all stems from. So, and check your triggers at the door. Just be present and be helpful. If you're, you know, if the party or whatever you're doing is just not fun, just see how you can help. That's what I do. If people are getting kind of annoying, I'll just go and say, hey, how can I help? Can I clean up? Can I do some dishes? Whatever. That's always a great way to distract yourself. So, yeah. So here's just some of my information. If you want to connect with me.
And we're going to be sharing all that, Shannon, too.
Okay.
So just, you know, just so everybody knows, I'm going to share all of Shannon's contact information. There will be a follow-up email everybody's going to get also. So I didn't want to, don't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to share that with you and everyone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. It's so,
Sure.
you know, such a potent topic, right? How do we connect to what matters, and the role in our society, in our culture, of all of the different ways that we distract and can disconnect from ourselves and those around us. And, you know, everyone here is connected to this topic, right? We all have, you know, clicked the links and said yes and showed up here. And anybody who isn't here who registered, same thing. We're interested in connecting to what matters. And so thank you so much for sharing your story. And those tips are incredible. I think you're absolutely right. When we look into what's going on with our beliefs, I love the idea of, like, the turnaround and the manifest. And I think that, you know, the different practices that we shared tonight as a whole can be interwoven. And really brought together, right? Tuning into that sifting practice, for example. And one of the resources you're going to get is a little guided meditation. So you'll be able to see what those steps are and bring yourself through it, or you can listen to that practice and, you know, tuning in that way, and then shifting into the tea time practice and thinking about what the intentions are, and the why, and how is it going to feel. You know, like Shannon was talking about, it's about navigating, and these are practices. Are we headed towards our North Star? And I mentioned in the beginning that there might be a little personal share. So Shannon and I, and actually two of our other friends, at some point we got these tattoos together. And this is a little, like, it's a nautical star, right? And it symbolized for me when we got these together, like the North Star, right? What is my direction? Where am I going? And oftentimes we wish and we want it to be a linear path, right? Like that kid in the beginning who had his, his sled and his, scarf and all the good things. He had all the equipment to go up to the top of the hill. It's like we want to just do that and we want to fly down. And you know what? Sometimes it happens. It totally happens and we do that. We know what we want to connect with. We know the direction. We got the equipment and we go there. And that's what tonight is about, because like Shannon's talking about too, when it comes to alcohol and, your observations through your changes of different things, and then coming back to this piece of like, well, what if I want to connect and I'm recognizing that other people are engaging in certain things and I'm feeling that they're disconnected? Well, how can I connect anyways? Right? Or, what do I need to maintain those connections, and making those choices and decisions, so key. So we're just going to take a moment and I want to hear from some of you. So what's coming up for you? And if you want to share in the chat, how is this landing? What are you taking with you? If you want to open up and share with us, we'd love to hear from you. And so we're just going to take a couple moments for that. Any questions that you have for Shannon and I? You see we have some feline friends joining us.
Cute.
Yeah.